Last year we bought an old house built in 1921. The house is full of history, and many of its original details have been carefully preserved over the years. Everything is a little worn and a little dated, but we are slowly making it our own, repairing what needs repairing, while trying to preserve the character that was already here. The same is true for the garden. It's home to old apple trees, pear trees, and to my surprise, a cherry tree that I didn't even know was there when we first moved in. When we first saw the house, I hardly noticed anything beyond the lilacs in bloom. The rest of the garden was still quietly waiting. It wasn't until the seasons began to change that it slowly started introducing itself. First came the blossom, then for a little while almost nothing at all, and suddenly the branches were filled with cherries. I've started looking at the garden differently since I began painting it. Before I mostly noticed the colors and the overall impression. Now I find myself paying attention to the shape of a leaf, the way a branch bends beneath its own weight, or how the cherries grow together in small clusters. Painting has taught me to slow down, to stay curious, to look without judging or expecting, simply to accept what is in front of me. I don't paint because I want to copy nature exactly. I paint because it helps me remember what caught my attention in the first place. Sometimes it's a flower. Sometimes it's the way the light falls through the trees. And sometimes it's simply a branch covered in cherries. The more time I spend in the garden, the more I'm reminded that everything is temporary. Nothing stays the same for very long. Perfection is nowhere to be found, yet somehow everything feels exactly as it should. By the time I sit down with my brushes, the painting feels less like creating something new, and more like holding on to a moment that might otherwise have passed unnoticed. I'm still new to watercolor, and every painting teaches me something different. Rather than trying to paint perfectly, I'm learning to enjoy the process of discovering my own way of painting. This year, the cherries became more than just a painting. I decided to try making cherry juice for the first time. It took a while to pick them all, but I found myself enjoying the slow rhythm of it. One cherry at a time. It's one of those summer moments that somehow feels a little more special when the fruit comes from your own garden. Watching the cherries grow from the tree to the kitchen somehow makes the garden feel even closer. The seasons don't just give us something beautiful to look at. They slowly become part of everyday life. I wasn't sure whether I had to remove the stones from the cherries, but I did just to be safe. If you know whether it is necessary to remove them, please let me know, because as you can tell, we have quite a lot of cherries this season. A few days later, I took a glass of cherry juice back into the garden and sat down with a book. The same garden that quietly introduced itself to us over the past year. I know that in a few weeks, the branches will be empty again. Summer has a quiet way of moving on. But perhaps that's exactly what makes these moments worth noticing. Long after the cherries are gone, the painting and the cherry juice will remind me of my first summer in our old garden. And I have a strong feeling the garden still has many more stories to tell.